of whether you want to be a principal. I said, soon. He goes, what are you even? And I said, well, for example, I know that you walk home past this park. What happens this afternoon if you walk by that park after school and you see a couple of 8th graders and they're just wailing away on a 3rd grader, just wailing on him, and you see it? I said, immediately it seems to me you got a choice, right? You either just keep walking and let the 8th graders just beat the ever-living snot out of a 3rd grader, or you're going to walk up to them. Let's say that you decide to walk up to them, and you walk up and you say, knock it off. And one of those 8th graders looks back at you and says, make me. I said, you just became the principal. How's that feel? Do you think it's at all possible that a parent makes a rule? You will do X or Y will happen. And then X gets done. And there's this thought that goes across the psyche, and that, well, oh, poop. The parent, not the kid, the parent. Oh, poop. Why? Why? Jot it down in your notes. Why? Why would the parent go, oh, poop? Because the parent said, if X is done, Y must happen. The moment X gets done, what is the parent forced into a corner of his or her own making? Yes? In that moment, let's talk politics and power. In that moment, of course, every young person will admit, well, it's true, I guess I've been there. And if the parent says, if X gets done, Y will happen, and X gets done, and the parent goes, I know I said Y would happen, but I really don't want to do Y to you, so I'm going to pretend like X didn't happen, and we're just going to pretend. No, Miss Barney smiles, no. See, we're all familiar with what is it? How is that interpreted by the kid? Oh, goody. Moment of weakness and betrayal of principle means in the future a lovely precedent. That is to say, the next time I do X and she wants to inflict Y, I'll say, whoa, 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 this is totally unfair. The last time I did X, you didn't give me Y. Why were you giving me Y now? This is unfair. You're being unfair. Do you think it's altogether possible that a parent has ever made a law, a rule, that when violated, the parent had to enforce even though the parent knew it was wrong to make the rule? Do you think that's ever happened in the history of parents and kids?
Probably.
When they made the rule, they were thinking about the potentiality of having to enforce. Creon is going to make an argument to his son. I made a rule. That rule has now been broken, and I have already given what the punishment will be. The girl must die. The son begins to make the counter-argument. Dad, you could be wrong. It's what we will call in epistemology, by the way, the fallibilist position. Yes, are we familiar with this notion of epistemology? 3 views on knowledge. Epistis, Greek, of relating to knowledge. 3 views on knowledge. One view posits absolute certainty. I am completely, absolutely certain on one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, complete relativity. There are no absolutes of any kind whatsoever. But of course, the problem with saying there are no absolutes is that you're asserting one absolute, and that is, there are no absolutes. It's what we will call the performative contradiction in philosophic discourse. There is no such thing as complete relativity. The moment that you say there is nothing absolute, you are saying at least one thing is absolute. And to that degree, the relativist position of epistemology breaks down. The third position says something kind of in the middle. We today call it the fallibilist position. And it says, epistemologically speaking, I think I'm right, but I could be wrong. And until I get further data that tells me I'm wrong, I'm going to move forward assuming that I am right. But I'm not going to just necessarily assume absolute certainty. I'm always looking to somehow make sure that the positions I hold are in fact truthful positions. This is, of course, the field of science, as John Dewey and others would define it in the 20th century, right? And that's why we think of science as being so precious to the Western mind. Notice the son here is going to say to his dad, I don't know about absolute certainty. You could be wrong on this. Dad responds, how?
I'm never wrong.
I am a father. Fathers are never wrong. Which is true, right? Dads aren't.
Shoot.
Now let's ask a really disturbing question. Who's right in this debate? If a king makes a law, and then he allows for the lawbreaker to go free, what's the precedent that's set?
The next lawbreaker's gonna be like, you know, they're gonna go free.
Right? Once Creon makes the rule, isn't he obligated to keep the rule? Once this young man walked up to 8th graders and said, whoa, 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 you can't wail on a 3rd grader, he's made a rule. Or what, the 8th grader says. Or I'll jack you. Really? Bam! He hits the 3rd grader one more time. Now jack us. Now what do? Can't hit 8th graders. Can't hit 8th graders if you're on parole. See this kid? Final observations for your notes real quickly. Why did Aristotle have problems with this play? Well, quick question. Who is the protagonist in the play Antigone according to Aristotle? Who is it?
The antagonist?
Who is the protagonist?
13.
Let's point out, it is not. It is not Antigone. It is, in fact, who? It is Creon. And many argued that the play should have been called Creon and not Antigone. And to that degree, Aristotle would have argued, weak play, not strong play. We'll come back to debate that one some more. Thank you.
You know the one guy?
We'll test tomorrow. I'm sorry?